What's going on, guys? Welcome to BeYOU TV. Today I'm here with Mr. Walker Williams, CEO and founder of Teespring. How you doing, Walker?
Not bad. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and why don't you get into exactly who Walker Williams is and how you created Teespring and maybe some other ventures you had before Teespring.
Sure. Yeah. So, name's Walker Williams. I'm the co-founder of Teespring.com. At the core of Teespring is we're a platform for entrepreneurs. So our goal is to allow anyone with a great idea for a physical product, today custom apparel, to go out and design and sell that product without ever having to spend money or produce product up front, no risk, no cost, and go out there and bring their ideas to the world and hopefully find success. Teespring was founded while I was a college student living in Providence, Rhode Island. Local dive bar got shut down when I was a senior. I saw all this energy around campus and I wanted to do something around it. I had a company at the time and I was very involved in programming and design and startups. Came up with this really simple concept that I would create a design to kind of remember the bar, and if we could get 200 people to pre-order the shirt, I would go out there, print it, individually ship out the packages and handle all the hard work. Got it done in 24 hours, put up the site, and was overwhelmed with the response. Ended up selling 500, 600 shirts, but more importantly, had a ton of people reach out to me essentially saying, hey, I've got an idea, can you build me a website? And right there I knew that there was something here that there was a pain point that wasn't being addressed. And so I emailed Evan, who's my co-founder, that very same week, and we got started pretty quickly.
How long ago did you get started? And I mean, I know you've helped a lot of people, making extra income or maybe even a full-time income through Teespring. And
sure.
Just explain on how important that is for you and how much it's helped you.
Absolutely. So I think that's one of the best things of Teespring. Right. We're always pushing to grow the company and expand, but at the core of it, the best part is that the growth of the company means more people out there are doing well. In 2014, 20 people became millionaires, hundreds of people made six figures, thousands of people made a full-time living. So that's what gets us excited. Our goal is today we serve tens of thousands of entrepreneurs. Our goal is to provide opportunities for hundreds of thousands, millions of entrepreneurs around the world.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I know you're a young guy, so it's pretty crazy to see that you've helped a lot of people make 7 and even 6 figures and even sometimes a full-time income. Now, you're based out of here in San Francisco. I mean, how is it having a city like this as your background as an entrepreneur? I mean, does it give you an advantage or an edge over maybe a smaller city?
Yeah, so the company was founded in Providence, Rhode Island, and we were there for the first about year. So all through 2012 we were in Rhode Island. I think we came out to San Francisco as part of a startup accelerator, like incubator program called Y Combinator. So I've been in both, and I spend time in Providence. Evan's in Providence right now. We have offices in Kentucky. We also have offices in London now. What I would say is that there's certain things that Silicon Valley is very, very good at. There's certain things it's tough for. The fundraising, though, we made the decision pretty early on to be a venture-funded business. We think the opportunity is big enough that our goal is to move fast, to create a fantastic platform, to have the capital to invest in things like our own facilities, to really kind of level up the industry. So we went out there and we raised money, and if you're raising money, we raised our first round in Providence, but really to be in it at the scale that we want to be, you've got to be here, because this is where all of the investors are. There's also a lot of talent around here. Now the flip side of that is that it's super competitive.
Right. So
there's a lot of different startups in a small area, and that produces a lot of, it's certainly not cheap to hire great people. Right. But if you're looking for the absolute best of the best, it's not that there's not amazing folks everywhere around the country. It's just a good concentration of experienced, relevant folks here. So yeah. I love Providence. I love Kentucky. I love London. San Francisco is a great place to have the corporate headquarters.
That's awesome. I think that San Fran is a hub for entrepreneurs. Exactly, what you said. Now, go into detail. I mean, when you first got Teespring started, was there a point where you're like, oh man, this is real and this is gonna be really big?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't really notice. So having a startup is very much like a roller coaster, right? There's like these extreme highs and very low lows, and you pretty much at all times feel like you're on the brink of disaster. Even today, there's always things on my mind where I think, oh crap, if that falls over, we're in so much trouble, or here's this part of our business that's way too weak. And that's been throughout our history. There's always been something that feels like, wow, this could crumble, it could all fall down. So I think there's a quote that I always go back to from Zuckerberg. Somebody asked him a very similar question in the beginning of 2014 when Facebook is $100 billion company, and they said, when did you know Facebook had made it? And his response was, last year. Like it took a tremendous amount of stability for him to feel like he made it. So I don't necessarily feel like we've made it big yet. There's a long way for us to go. In terms of when I knew that this was going to be a relatively large scale company, in the sense that I would say mid 2013, probably summer of 2013 is when I really started to think, wow, this isn't going to stop. This is just the start. And it's been just the start so far. So
yeah, it's just the beginning for you, man. And I'm excited to see where Teespring goes and stuff. And I mean, I think you hit on it. Especially a young entrepreneur like ourselves, it's high ups and then low downs and high ups and low downs. Was there ever like a rock bottom for you, or something where where you're just like,
a lot, of course. So every 6 months there'll be something that feels pretty devastating. I think the scariest we've ever been is if you look at the business now, it really looks like, hey, it's been such a rocket ship ride, but I think that first year was really, really tough, and we weren't sure if the model was viable, that if it had legs to go out and make it. And so I remember kind of towards the end of 2012, probably end of summer, like July, August, we were really struggling. The growth was slow. We were losing money. We didn't have a ton of money left in the bank, and I really started to wonder, is this viable? Is this business model actually going to work? So I would say that was probably the scariest moment, and there was a huge amount of doubt in my mind. Even today, when we have these scary moments, it's more, okay, is our long-term vision of being as big as we want to be threatened, versus do people actually want the product? We know people want the product. It's about the scale and what we're going to be able to achieve.
That's great. How did you get out of that? How did you get out of that mindset of being doubtful to?
So really, I would say that what pulled me out of it was we worked really hard. So one of the things I always tell people is startups, a lot of things are always going to get tough,
right? And
the natural response to when things get tough is to do what you're comfortable with. And so me and my co-founder both come from a background of programming and design, and so when things got uncomfortable for us, our natural instinct was, we'll go build more features. But normally what people need is not new features, you just need to go out and make sure people know that your product is there. Especially in those early days. That was our biggest challenge, is that people just didn't know we existed. And so we forced ourselves to get on the phone, to go out and sell, to call hundreds and hundreds of people, and that was really what started to get the ball rolling. And then end of 2012, all the way through to today, I think it's like, my analogy is like pushing a boulder uphill, and then you reach a point and it's probably like a little series of hills, but you reach a point and it starts rolling, and we experienced that towards the end of 2012 all the way through to 2013, where we really gained momentum in the business. So I think what pulled us out is just when things get hard, we make sure we don't do what's comfortable, we do what's right for the business, and then we'll do whatever it takes. We'll put in those long hours and the sleepless nights.
So when you had a lot of momentum with your company, obviously I saw Teespring kind of come up onto the scene, 13, 14, 15, exactly what you were talking about. I always saw it on Facebook, always saw the ads, always saw everything. Now, when you had a lot of momentum, what did you do to not only keep that momentum, but make it longer lasting?
Sure, yeah. So momentum is incredibly important to startup companies. It's one of the most vital things you have, especially a marketplace company, a platform where you're serving other people. So we constantly stress the importance of momentum internally, and our big thing is that don't sit back and expect it. You know, there's months and weeks. There's months and weeks. First, I'll start by saying there's months and weeks that are really bad, and no matter what we do, it feels like, you know, we can't turn the ship. There's also months and weeks where it's really good, and it feels like we could all be on vacation and doing nothing, and the business would be growing. What we stress internally all the time is that the only way you keep momentum, the only way you continue to grow is by continuing to fire bullets, by continuing to put things out, by continuing to get better across the business, not just features, but, you know, doing a better job on the legal process and reviews, and doing a better job on customer service. So we're all about continuing to push new things into the market and continuing to progress as a path to keep momentum. Doesn't always work, but certainly there's a correlation.
Yeah. It's all about pushing forward, you know. And so you obviously have another co-founder. So how did you guys start with employees? And I mean, now I'm walking around this place, it's beautiful. So how many employees do you have now and stuff?
Yeah, so about across the entire business, including the folks that print and ship the shirts from the Kentucky facility, it's about 500 people in the company now, about 100 here in San Francisco. We knew we would need help right away. This business is, if you think about the business of, from an outward perspective, people look and they think, oh, printing t-shirts, it must be so easy. But if you think about the implications of what we're doing, which is we have an entire e-commerce sort of platform, a simplified version of, you know, a Shopify.
Right.
And then we have to do manufacturing, fulfillment, logistics, all in an incredibly tight time frame with an incredible degree of accuracy, where we take something that is a digital mock-up that has never been seen or produced before and create it in a way that matches customer expectations. And there's a lot of moving pieces in that. So very quickly we realized that if we were going to do this right, we were going to need some help. So in early 2012, as we really started to get involved in the programming near the point where we'd be able to launch, we went out and raised a little bit of money and brought in a few folks, just, you know, kind of a real scrappy early stage folks that were willing to do anything. And so it's an evolution for sure. I think that, you know, the goal of a business should not be the number of, especially our business, where we really focus on the number of folks externally that we're able to help, you know, the number of sellers that are on the platform, creators and designers. So internally, we try to have the scrappiest, most driven team. And I think for employees, our common thread is that I know personally from the programming perspective that if the difference between me working on a project I love versus a project that I'm getting paid for but I don't really care about, the output is like 10x, right?
Yeah.
When I'm doing something I really enjoy, the amount of work I'm able to get done is incredible. Like I could go through a whole night and not even notice. And then if I'm working on something I hate, even if it's really well paid, I could work 15 minutes and feel exhausted and bored. So our common thread with people that work at Teespring is we ask them to make sure that this is what they're passionate about, that what they love. And if it's not, that's completely fine. It's not for everybody, and we support them, but we try to keep the internal environment really feeling like, hey, we're all here together working on a project. This isn't a job, it's a project. We're shooting for something bigger. And so that's kind of how we think about the employees of the company.
That's awesome. I think you kind of led into my next question, which is all about passion. Obviously, you're passionate about Teespring, you're passionate about what you do, and I think it's the open space in this office that gets people passionate, maybe bouncing ideas off each other and stuff. But, you know, obviously, you know, t-shirts, especially in the beginning, it's kind of difficult to be passionate about a t-shirt. But now you're really passionate about it because you see what it's come into. So when did you find your passion for this, and exactly what you said, when you had those sleepless nights where
so because I started with doing it first in like a very hacky way, I knew immediately that I loved it. And so it's not that I was like the biggest, you know, everybody wears t-shirts, but I wasn't like the massive t-shirt connoisseur beforehand. But what I remember is when I launched that first shirt to Remember the Bar, I remember sitting there and just staring at my phone as these PayPal notifications would pop up and say, you know, somebody bought a shirt, and then I would read it, and somebody in New York City would buy a shirt, and then somebody in California, and a bunch of people locally. But it was immediately an incredible feeling to know that I had created something that people wanted. And then past that, as the product came in and we started to ship it out and distribute it, seeing people post photos, seeing people walking around wearing it, there's this incredible connection that you get. So I knew before I even started the company that I was passionate about this and I knew the impact that it could make. And then over time, what we started to see was that it wasn't just, that early experience, I didn't quite understand it because I was like, okay, it must be something to do with the t-shirts. And then over time, what we realized is that it's not the t-shirt, it's the idea. And the satisfaction comes from allowing people to be entrepreneurial who probably otherwise wouldn't have the chance for whatever reason. Organizing, scaling a business in apparel is really, really difficult. And if you've got to both be the person that thinks of the ideas and organizes the production, the shipping, does the customer service, sets up the website, that's a lot to ask of somebody. And there's a lot more people in the world with great ideas who don't have the time or don't have the money or don't have the appetite for attacking that side of things than there are folks that they've got great ideas and they have all of these other resources. So the satisfaction, the passion for me and I believe the whole company comes from the fact that we're seeing people do incredible things, mind-blowing things. We'll look at campaigns and see people change their lives overnight with nothing more than a great idea, and that's an awesome feeling, and that keeps us excited, and and hasn't burnt out yet.
That's awesome. Now, if there's a young entrepreneur out there who obviously has big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, really doesn't know how to do it, obviously Teespring is an amazing platform, but what advice would you give them?
Sure. I think the highest level advice I would give somebody is do what you love and the money will follow. I think that there's kind of two paths in life, and people come from all different backgrounds and circumstances, and I entirely understand that. But when I launched Teespring, part of the reason I even created the platform is because I had $300 in the bank. I had this idea, but I literally didn't have any money to print the shirts. I couldn't have printed the shirts in the old-fashioned way if I had wanted.
Right. And
the normal path would have been, hey, go try to get a job anywhere else. And same thing for my co-founder. We went into that sort of graduating from school knowing we wanted to work on something, even though we had no money, no stability. I'm sure my family would have picked me up if things had gotten really bad, but I didn't have an outlet there. And so for me, it was about, I know this is something I love. I know that I can work hard and do great things here. And then everything else, all the success, the office and all of that, it comes from that core. And I don't think I would have been able to do it, and I don't think I would have been able to find success in any way had I just said, okay, what looks like the best path to making money? We made $2,000 a month for the first 6-7 months of Teespring, and it wasn't an easy time, but again, we were doing what we loved, and so it was worth it. Yeah. So that's my biggest advice. Don't go and create a startup selling chairs because you think you can make a ton of money. Make sure that you pick something that you absolutely love. Yeah.
All right, man. I think my last question for today is, what's next for Teespring?
Sure. Yeah. So a metaphor we use is that building a great company, a company that lasts, is a marathon. And if Teespring is in a marathon, we're still very early. We're maybe on mile 3 or 4. We're just out of the blocks. And our core goal, if we go back to it, is to allow anybody with a great idea to bring a product to market. If people want it, it should become real. Nothing like, hey, I don't know how to screen print or I don't have the money to produce this should stand in the way. And we've started to create that dynamic, and that's what you're seeing with the success that we've had and with the people that have become millionaires and who make their full-time living. However, we got a really long way to go. We're still very much today an apparel company. The vast majority of what we produce is apparel. Not everybody's idea is applicable to t-shirts or screen printing, so we want to respond there. we've got a long way to go to make sure that every entrepreneur, regardless of experience level, is able to find the optimal amount of success on Teespring. That means getting better with our tools, with our functionality. We want to make sure we get all of these different areas of business. So there's folks that are, right now, there's somebody within a mile radius that's walking down the street with their friend, talking about an idea they have, that have no idea that Teespring exists. And because they don't know that we're there, they won't be able to come and bring their idea to life and try the platform. So for us, it's about expanding from an apparel platform to truly an ideas platform. And it's about continuing to build out a product that gives the folks that use Teespring the absolute best chance of finding success.
There you go. I mean, you guys heard it here. Mr. Walker Williams, CEO and founder of Teespring. Thank you for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me again.